Years and years ago, I had this wonderful job in an Orthodox Jewish school in Stamford Hill, and I got to know the community incredibly well, and I got to learn some Yiddish, and to a certain extent, I didn't learn it very well. I learned some modern Hebrew, Ivrit, which I didn't know, and it was a wonderful experience. Now let me teach you a modern Hebrew expression, tikra lemishu ze dachuf, which would mean watch out, call somebody, it's urgent. Okay. Now I want to tell you a story about something that's happened a while ago. A few weeks ago in London, some very Orthodox Jewish students, Haredi students, were celebrating the Jewish festival of Hanukkah, and they were on Oxford Street, and they'd gone up to Oxford Street in a little bus, and they were dancing outside this bus, and they were surrounded by youths who were taunting them, and the story was reported by the BBC. Now, in the BBC story, which can still be found online, the next bit of the story is that the BBC said that they heard that it was alleged that there were anti-Muslim comments made from the bus. Now, there was a recording of everything that took place, and this recording has been forensically analysed, and there is nothing, there are no anti-Muslim slurs at any point. Yes, you can hear very specifically the anti-Semitic comments, which are shocking. And like so much of modern anti-Semitism in Britain, it begins with a reference to freeing Palestine, which is a perfectly legitimate political demand. And then it moves on to clear and absolute anti-Semitic slurs about Jewish people. And there's a distinction between the two, and this goes to the heart of one of the problems that the Labour Party had, and that led to the anti-Semitic issues in the Labour Party, that bridge between observing things that one doesn't like about the state of Israel, and then making judgments about Jewish people. This jump is a jump into anti-Semitism, and it is completely unacceptable. But what is equally unacceptable is for the BBC to, in quote, the interests of fairness or the interests of impartiality, to invent something that simply doesn't exist. Now the Jewish community has come together. I believe they paid for a forensic analysis of this recording, which would have been very expensive, and they got a professor from Cambridge University, who's a specialist in languages, to analyse this. And he's very, very clear. And more than that, that recording and that forensic analysis has been published. You can find it. Professor Zuckerman talks about the Apollonian tendency. I think this is a little bit pompous, actually. What he's referring to is something in the philosophy of Nietzsche. Nietzsche pitches the Apollonian character against the Dionysian character. The Apollonian is more intellectual and more head-driven, and the Dionysian is more about fun and earthy. But I think what he's trying to say is that the BBC have applied the idea that that is reasonable to assume that there would be Islamophobic comments, and they're appealing to what the audience might already think. This is a logical fallacy. I think it's a bit, as I say, I think it's a bit fanciful to call it the Apollonian tendency, I think there are many Apollonian tendencies. One of the students is a fellow called Raphael, and he says we were outside the bus and we were dancing, and men gathered round chanting "Free Palestine," and then they went on. And he actually quotes one of the expressions. I don't intend to quote it here. And I think this bus was certainly under the umbrella of a particular, a very accessible part of the Haredi community, or very accessible part of the very orthodox community called Lubavitch, Chabad Lubavitch, and they've now talked to the board of Jewish deputies, who have written to Tim Davie, the head of the BBC, who is going to meet them, and he's got a lot of explaining to do, because this seems to me to be a clear-cut case of BBC bias, and it's not the only one. Of course, if you listen to Alex Belfield, there's BBC bias in every breath. But I think if you look at what the BBC is doing at the moment, it's not working as well as it could. But then nor is any part of our media industry, particularly our television industry, which is overwhelmed by box ticking. I think box ticking is probably the best term, and I think we need to get away from that. We need to realise that the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, all these different channels which are competing now with the channels on cable and in the ether, all the Disney Plus, wonderful channel. And now I've just discovered I don't really understand it, but it is a way that you can access Sky Art, which is a great channel in itself. But, I don't see how the BBC can be box ticking when it is competing with these other channels. There was a time when perhaps worthiness, this moral worthiness, was a reasonable aim for our national television channel. But I think that moral worthiness, the idea that the television channel is the country's auntie, this day has passed, and it doesn't do the job very well. The BBC is not a replacement for the Church of England or a form of moral code. The BBC should recognise its job. It is a form of entertainment, and it should also do its job properly. It should be a news outlet. When I switch on the BBC to look at the news, most of the time I'm looking at the weather, repeating again and again endlessly, or I'm looking at sport. I actually want news analysis. If I want news analysis, I have to go to Channel 4. That's the harsh reality. I cannot find a news programme on the BBC that analyses the news in a regular way. And now that Andrew Marr has gone, I don't think I'm going to find anything even near that point. We need to have a rethink about the way the media works, and we need to have a rethink about what it means to be impartial, if what that means is to find fault where no fault lies. So the BBC has some apologising to do, and it shouldn't actually be waiting for the Jewish community to come to it. It should have gone to the Jewish community immediately. Shame on the BBC, really. This doesn't do anybody any favours. So there we are. Do follow the channel and do ring the bell.